So today we're going to be drawing an owl. We're going to focus on breaking it down into basic, simple shapes first, and then adding the details as we go and kind of refining it. So first thing that I would say is start off with pencil, make sure you have an eraser available as well. We're going to go ahead and start by breaking down the body and the head. So the first thing to notice here is the body. If we just ignore all the extra little feathers and the legs and anything like that, just very, very simply, it's kind of like an oval shape. And we're ignoring the head for now as well. And it's an oval. So notice that it's also at an angle. It's kind of diagonal. And then the head is more straight up. So that's something we really want to pay attention to. It's also a little bit bigger around the chest, and then obviously gets smaller back here towards the feathers, but again, we're not going to worry too much about the feathers yet. But when it comes to the basic shape, it's almost like an oval with kind of a larger top, kind of like a teardrop shape, but diagonal. So it may be helpful for you, you don't have to do this, is to just kind of draw a line first, just to kind of get the angle down. And then you can go ahead and just very lightly, because again, we're going to be making adjustments. Don't worry if you don't get it exactly right the first time. Okay, so I kind of just got a basic idea of what I think the body looks like. For the head, we're going to try to get it a little bit more straight up. Okay. So what you can do is you can always do a circle and then kind of do the connect the neck and everything around it, or you can just go straight into doing that. That's probably what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to do kind of a big curved shape coming off the body. So it kind of comes like this. Let's get my paper down. A little flatter on top. Don't worry if it's not exact for now. The chest is kind of puffed out a little. And then we can go ahead and connect it. And then we have one shape basically. All right. It's pretty close. It's always good if you're drawing from observation to just always be kind of glancing back and forth. Don't just draw what you think it's going to look like. Make sure you're constantly looking back and kind of making little mini comparisons. That's how you'll get the most accurate picture. Alright, so now we can, basically, this is the very basic of it. We can now start adding like the legs, the feathers, and things like that. So I'm going to stick with my pencil for now. So I'm going to do pencil the whole time, I'm sorry, but I'm going to just stick with the same pencil. And I'm going to start with the face just because I think that will be a good next step. Look at the little differences here. So the side of this little heart shape is closer to this side than it is on this side, right? He's turning his head. So, and you want to look at the distance from the top of it to the top of the head. So really pay attention to those things to make sure we get the proper proportions. We want to see how. So don't worry about this bump here. That's not the wing, so that might kind of throw you off. If you need to erase that so you don't get confused, that can be helpful. Sometimes people like to just erase as they go, but that is up to you. Okay, so pretty close there. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just erase this little thing here so it doesn't kind of throw me off, because it started to kind of look like the top of the wing, and that's not what we have yet. Okay, so then you can kind of see, all right, what's the distance between the bottom of this shape and the wing? What do we have here to here? It's not that far. I'm just going to kind of mark it out there. Okay, it kind of goes down, down, and I'm already noticing that the chest on this owl might be a little bit larger. So let's just see, I'm going to start bringing the feathers down a little bit, the wing, the edge of the wing. And that's not too far off, I'd say, actually. It's pretty accurate. You can always kind of puff it out a little bit more if you need to. Okay. Cool. So again, it's pretty basic already. I mean, still. We haven't added too much detail. It's still just basic shapes. So let's go ahead and do his feet, his legs, and then his talons. So we want to look at the ankle again. Okay, so we had the ankle this way. We have his head was a little bit more straight up, at a slight angle though. And then the legs are at the kind of opposite angle. So we want to look at how far is it from the bottom of his feathers. So right now I don't have all the fancy feathers. I can go ahead and add those if I want, if that helps you. Just so you have a better idea of the length and where to place these. Okay. So I kind of want to look at about how far up they are, and I'm just going to do maybe even a little higher. Okay, I'm not worrying about the little fuzzies on it yet because he does have little kind of fluffy legs. Okay, so that is the first leg there. The next one is just kind of hidden behind. Okay, and I'll go ahead and just draw some of the talons. They kind of overlap. It's kind of hard to see all of them, so you don't really need to draw every single talon, just the ones that you notice. Okay, something like that. All right, and then you can kind of see like the fur kind of connects down a little bit. So it's kind of a smoother transition, not just like these little stick legs coming out of nowhere. All right. Cool. Next, we can go ahead, let's go ahead and start filling in the face a little bit, some of those details. So I'm going to, let's see, I think I'll start with the eyes. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to start with this little kind of bridge of his beak, because that kind of starts in the center and comes in. So we can start with that. So you really want to pay attention to the placement. Okay, and then it kind of turns into the eyes. The eyes are circular but a little bit oval, and you notice how they're kind of slanted. So make sure you add that slight slant. Remember, just draw lightly because you can always make adjustments. It's okay if it's not perfect right away. We can just be making little refinements as we go. All right, looks a little weird now without the beak, so let's go ahead and add the beak. It's a little bit of a curve. It's a triangle with the pointy side down, but it curves on the top part there and then down because he is looking slightly at an angle. See about how far is it from the bottom of his face here. Okay, pretty similar. I'm kind of just refining the eyes because it does look like they're a little off. Okay. There we go. All right, so that would be just the very basic. If you're just focusing on the shapes, and then from there, we're just going to go ahead and start adding details. So kind of the texture in the face, the texture in the feathers, in the wings, things like that. So the wings are a little complicated and the picture is not the best at showing. So just pick some main feathers to focus on. So I'm going to focus on these ones here that are kind of coming down. And I'm just going to kind of bring this out a little more. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do this part first because it's kind of... Sometimes it's helpful when you're doing fur or feathers not to just draw lines, but to draw kind of diagonal hatching, right? So I'm kind of drawing this little separation right here. You can see that value change. I'm just going to bring it up to there, and then it's a little smoother and not such a harsh line. All right, and then here, let's go ahead. And it's okay to do lines as well. Just kind of make sure they're not so solid that it's like kind of harsh and cartoonish looking. Unless that's what you're going for, of course. Just keeping it very soft. All right, so I got that down. And then it looks like these feathers kind of come, you may not be able to see it as well, similar to that, but kind of back, but a little wider. So I'm just gonna focus on some basic shapes here. Oops. And I'm seeing I'm going to have to kind of bring this belly out a little more because I'm running out of room. And I can tell I might have made mine a bit skinnier. Okay. Let's see. Alright, and there's a lot of just kind of fancy little details in the feathers. So it's kind of up to you how you want to tackle that. You can just kind of do little dash marks to represent those little spots. And then maybe do some little U shapes underneath. Up to you how you want to do that. There's also just some little gray patches. So I'm going to go ahead and do just some kind of cross hatching in different directions to do that because it's kind of hard to tell what direction it's going in. It's kind of all over the place. Adding a little bit of the fuzziness to his legs. Using hatching, trying to keep it random. Oh, so there's a couple little feathers right there I'm just going to add. Look like they're kind of hiding behind. And then on top here we have, yeah, the feathers are pretty complicated. They're kind of going in all sorts of directions. We'll get it as accurate as we can. So yeah, I'm just kind of going in, adding a couple sections of hatching just to kind of show the texture of the feathers. Of course, it's hard to get every single feather individually. Just like if you're drawing someone, like a person, you're not going to draw every single strand of hair. You're just going to kind of pick specific areas that you want to focus on. And really just focus on the direction that the feathers are growing, or the fur, or the hair, whatever it is. And not so much on getting it exactly how it is in the picture. Okay, and then in the face is really interesting because you can see the feathers that kind of come, they kind of come out, kind of like a radial situation. So they're starting from the center and then they kind of radiate out. So I don't want to make it too stripy looking, obviously, so I'm going to keep it very light, at least to start, and then I can always darken it. Kind of looks like eyelashes right now. And then on the bridge of his beak, they kind of come together inwards, kind of crisscross. It's like a little darker around the eyes and kind of the bridge. That looks a little scary. It'll come together. And kind of the edge around the face is a little, it's hard to tell what's going on, but the fur or the feathers are kind of built up a little bit. I think they kind of stick out, so I'm just going to emphasize that a bit. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to bring this out a little more. So I'm really analyzing, like, okay, the shape of this, how does this curve down compared to this side? Just trying to get it as close as I can. Okay. If you ever feel like, oh, I overdid it with all these lines, like all the hatching, you can always come in with an eraser. Just kind of break it up so it's not so stripy. I may end up doing that in a bit here. Hard to say. Once I add the eyes, it might kind of come together. Alright, so it's a little hard to see. There are some very slight shines in the eyes, which will kind of help give the owl kind of a living look. So I'm just going to keep it simple and at least try to add that. If it ends up looking kind of weird, I'll just get rid of it, but I'm just going to do 2 little shiny spots, 1 in each eye. This already looks a lot better. Okay, that works. I'm gonna make this a little wider. I think I made him a little too skinny compared to the picture. Alright, looks pretty good. And again, I'm just gonna darken the hatching marks that I made around the eyes. And I might just add some details to the talons, give him a little base to stand on. And then I think that'll be it. You can definitely use some more work on the values, just kind of fixing everything up a bit so it's not all so light. Like I said, I'm just kind of adding some darker values. You can kind of see his belly is a little bit in shadow here. So I'm going to emphasize that. Create more of a separation between the feathers. Can't even see that. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna add his little base. Can't tell what he's standing on, but of course you guys can, you can kind of make it whatever you want. I'm just gonna make it like the top of a log or something. Okay, so it's always good to kind of go back and just kind of clean up the edges if you're smearing everywhere, or use another paper, which I probably should have done, to block it. But that's okay. Alright, so there's just a basic overview, starting with basic shapes. Really focus, make sure you focus on the angle of everything, and then build it from there. You can definitely go in and add even more details, like what they have going on in the fur here. There's a lot of kind of speckles and spots. I'm just going to stop here so I don't make this video way too long. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing any of your finished owl drawings. Good luck!